The series begins with the Squid Game, and it was named Squid because it was played inside a drawing on the ground that resembled the shape of a squid. The game is played by dividing the participants into two opposing teams, offense and defense. The defender is allowed to run on both feet normally, and if the attacker manages to enter the drawing, then the attacker is allowed to run on both feet and is called the secret inspector. In the final stage, the attackers gather at the entrance of the squid, trying to avoid the defenders and reach the head of the squid to stand on it. If the defender manages to push the attacker out of the squid drawing, the attacker is eliminated and cannot try again. As soon as the attacker stands on the head of the squid and is declared the winner, he has defeated the defenders. And that's the Squid Game. Now we move on to Seong, an unemployed, unsuccessful man who lives with his mother in her apartment so she can support him. And he can't even pay the interest on the loan he took out, which has just vanished into thin air. He waits for his mother to leave the house so he can take her bank card and withdraw money. Why? But he's surprised to find out that she changed the password and he can't withdraw any money. He keeps trying different birthdays he remembers until he finally enters his daughter's birthday. He manages to withdraw the money he wants and goes to bet it on a horse race. For the first time in his life, he actually wins something that brings in money, and he even tips the receptionist. But because of his bad luck and misfortune, the money gets stolen from him by a pickpocket he bumps into. He tries to escape from religion until he is caught. After beating him up, they force him to sign a waiver for his organs. If he doesn't pay off his debt by the end of the month, they'll be legally allowed to take his kidney and one of his eyes, thanks to the consent he signed himself. He goes back to the receptionist and takes back the tip he had given her. He plays a claw machine game to try to win a gift for his daughter, since he doesn't have any money to buy her a birthday present. All his attempts fail because of his bad luck, until a little boy helps him, and he finally wins a wrapped gift, which he goes to give to his daughter for her birthday. It turns out the gift is a lighter shaped like a gun, but his daughter is still happy that her father got her a present, even though he takes it away from her so she doesn't hurt herself with the fire. He promises his daughter that next year he'll get her a big present. It seems like his daughter wants to tell him something, but she changes her mind and stays quiet. He drops his daughter off at her mother's house. Her stepfather says goodbye to her, and then he heads back to catch the train, but he misses it, so he has to wait for the next train. A man comes up to him and offers to play a game with him called the Daggy Game. It's a game with two pieces of cardboard. One is thrown on the ground, and the other stays in the player's hand. If the player manages to hit the piece on the ground with the one in his hand and flip it over, he succeeds. And if he doesn't flip it, he fails. The man offers Seong that if he wins, he'll give him 100,000 won, which is their currency. Seong tries his luck first, and as usual, he fails. Then the man takes his turn and succeeds in flipping the piece on the ground. But Seong doesn't have any money to pay, so the man tells him that he can pay with his body, and he hits Seong with the pen. Seong tries another round, and in the end he gets slapped again because he fails too. Seong keeps failing and getting slapped until his face turns red. And in one single rare instance, Seong wins and is overjoyed, taking the 100,000 won. He tells the man that he can help him win much more money through playing. He starts telling him that he knows his entire history, that he's almost unemployed at the moment, that he's just working as a driver and his money isn't enough to cover his expenses. And he has just signed away his organs because he owes 160 million won to the loan sharks and 225 million to the bank because of the loan he took from them. And he has a 10-year-old daughter who lives with his ex-wife and her husband, and he gives him his card. He tells him that if he wants to win unimaginable amounts of money, he should call him, then leaves him and walks away. Seong is happy that he has money, so he buys dinner for himself and his mother, and they eat together. His mother tells him that his wife, her husband, and their daughter will move to America next year. Seong is shocked by what he hears and remembers that his daughter was about to tell him this, but she stayed silent. His mother tries to encourage him by telling him that he has to win custody of his daughter and that he needs to be able to show the court that he can support and provide for her. Night comes and he can't sleep from all the thinking until he decides to call the man's number and says he's ready to participate. He waits at a specific place until a car stops in front of him. The driver asks him for the password that was given to him over the phone, and he says it. As soon as he gets in the car, a sleeping gas is released and he falls asleep. Seong, like the others in the car, falls asleep except for the driver, who is wearing a gas mask and stays awake. Seong wakes up in a large, spacious place filled with many people. He finds himself wearing a uniform like the others and has been assigned the number 456. In front of each person, there's a camera monitoring them, and everyone present is being watched by certain individuals. Seong gets up from his place and sees a screen in front of him showing the number of people present in the area. Seong turns out to be the last person to arrive at this place, and he meets a frail old man whose number is 1. Seong asks him why an old man like him is in a place like this. The old man tells him that he has a tumor in his brain and will die soon, so he has nothing to lose by participating. Meanwhile, a thug overhears this while he's hitting the girl who stole from Seong because of some old issues between them, until Seong steps in because he wants his money back from her, since he recognized her as the one who robbed him. Before they can continue talking, some people enter through the gate, all wearing masks with a circle symbol on them. Then, someone whose mask has a square drawn on it starts speaking to everyone present, telling them that they will all participate in 6 different games over 6 days. Whoever wins all 6 games will receive a large cash prize, and that their phones and wallets will be returned to them as soon as the game is over. The identities of the game staff will remain hidden to preserve the secrecy of the team. One of the players speaks up, saying that he doesn't believe them and doesn't trust what they're saying. The masked man starts telling them that they are all heavily in debt, and that they were filmed while playing Dokji. After that, they took the money, and at that moment, they all trusted the person who gave them the money and called his number to join the game. He adds that they are allowed to return to their miserable lives or continue with them, and that the 6 games are unknown to all the players, and they will only find out about them once they participate. Seong then asks about the prize amount. It is said that the piggy bank above them will be filled with money after the first game they play, and the amount will be announced to them after the first game ends. Everyone present has the right either to withdraw or to proceed to sign the game contract. The first clause in the contract is that the player is not allowed to stop playing at any time. The second clause states that any player who refuses to play will be eliminated. The third clause is that the game ends if the majority agree to end it. After everyone signs the contract, they head to the game hall and are photographed. The game leader is monitoring everything that happens, and Seong meets his friends Se-byuk and Sang-woo and tries to talk to him, but Sang-woo says he'll tell him what happened later. They enter the game hall and see at the far end a giant doll standing with a red line drawn on the floor in front of it. The doll turns its head and gives them its back. They are required to reach the finish line, and they must stop moving as soon as the doll turns its head and looks at them. They are only allowed to run when the doll turns its head and says the phrase "green light, red light." The game begins and everyone starts running, but when the doll turns and sees the first player moving, that player is eliminated, a gunshot is heard, and the losing player falls to the ground, with no one understanding what happened to him. One of the players approaches the one who fell and finds blood coming out of his mouth. He panics and runs, so he gets killed as well, because the doll is equipped with motion sensors and can detect who is moving. Chaos and blood spread everywhere as most of the players ran out of fear, and everyone who moved was eliminated. The leader sits watching them, enjoying himself as he sees them dying in front of him, until the doll finishes the game. The first one to move after the massacre is the old man. Then the rest of the players start running and stopping, and so on. Seong has someone lying on top of him and tries to get up, and they all have a limited amount of time to cross the red line. The players start crossing the line. While Seong is running, he steps on someone's arm. Before he falls and the doll sees him, a man named Ali catches him, preventing him from falling and dying, and they cross together. The time runs out, and everyone who failed to reach the red line is killed, and it becomes clear that they are on an island in the middle of the sea. All the bodies of those who died are burned. Even those who are still barely alive are also burned, and they are disposed of completely. The remaining players are in shock from what they've witnessed, until the staff enters and the masked man tells them that their number has dropped from 456 players to 201, and that 295 players have died. But all the players object and beg them to let them leave the game, and everyone starts turning against the staff until the masked man tells them that the second clause states that any player who refuses to play will be eliminated. But Sang-woo tells him that the third clause says the games will end if the majority votes to stop the game. The masked man agrees with him, but tells the rest of the players to first take a look at the prize money that will be put in the piggy bank. The piggy bank starts filling up with a huge amount of money, and greed becomes obvious on all their faces. This money belongs to each of the players who died. For every player who died, 100 million is added to the piggy bank, and the number of players who died is 295. That means the money in the piggy bank is 25 billion and 500 million, and they are completely free to withdraw, in which case the money will go to the families of the players who died. But the most important thing is that the final prize will be 25 billion and 600 million. The masked officer asks them to vote using the buttons in front of them. The voting will go in reverse order of their numbers, and the first to vote is Seong. The green button means to continue, and the red means to withdraw. Seong presses the red button, and then all the players start voting. In the end, the votes are tied, and it's number one's turn, the old man, and he votes to end the game. So the game really ends, and the masked officer tells them that everyone will be sent back home. But they are given a chance to return to the game, and all of them are notified. They are dropped off in different places, left tied up in the streets. The first thing Seong does is go to the police to report what happened, but no one believes him. So he gives them the card and the phone number he called to join the game. The police officer calls the number on the card, but a woman answers and yells at him for calling so early, then throws Seong out of the station. There is a police officer named Hwang standing by, watching what's happening, and he notices the shape of Seong's card. Seong goes home to look for his mother but doesn't find her there. He keeps searching until he gets a call from the hospital where she is and learns that she has diabetes, which has affected her legs, and that she urgently needs treatment. In the worst-case scenario, her legs will need to be amputated. But after his mother regains consciousness, she refuses to stay in the hospital, saying there's no money for treatment or living expenses if she remains there, and that she has to fight so their lives don't get even worse. Seong tells her that he'll get her the money and come back. Meanwhile, Hwang, the police officer, has a brother who's been missing for a few days, and the landlady at his brother's place accuses him of disappearing because he didn't pay the rent. The officer goes to his brother's apartment and finds the same card he saw at the police station with Seong. So he goes back to the station, gets Seong's information and his home address. It turns out that every one of the players has a ruined life because of a lack of money. Among them is Ali, who desperately needs money and gets into a fight with his former boss because the boss refuses to pay him 6 months' wages. They argue until the boss's hand gets caught inside a machine, and Ali takes the money the boss had and runs away to give it to his family. Sang-woo is talking to his mother, reassuring her that he's fine and that he's on a business trip in America, and that he won't be coming back soon because of work circumstances. He's made her believe that he has a good job, so good that she's proud of him in front of everyone, until investigators from the police come to her shop looking for her son because he's wanted for embezzlement, forgery, and other financial crimes. His mother realizes that he's been lying to her, and that he's a fraud, and at that point, Sang-woo decides to commit suicide until he hears a knock at his door and finds a Squid Game card under his apartment door with the time and place for a meeting in case he wants to join them again. Seong Gi-hun tries to borrow any money he can to help his mother, but he fails, and then he runs into the old man by chance at a shop in his neighborhood. The old man says that he decided to return to the game because his life now is more miserable than the game itself, and that he was wrong to choose to end the game. The card is being distributed to all the players. Seong resorts to going to his ex-wife to borrow money for his mother's surgery, but she refuses to give him any because she doesn't have money, and she asks him to leave the house before her husband comes back and causes trouble. But her husband returns with the kids from outside, and she tells him that Seong just came to check on his daughter and is about to leave. Her husband follows Seong outside, gives him money, and tells him that in exchange for this money, he never wants to see his face again or even think about visiting his daughter. But Seong hits him because he's trying to keep him from seeing his daughter, and his daughter sees Seong hitting her stepfather. Seong goes back home and finds Detective Hwang waiting for him outside. The detective asks him about the card he has, saying that his brother had the same card and disappeared, but Seong refuses to talk to him, telling him he doesn't have time to help anyone, and leaves him to go inside his apartment. He finds the game card on his door, and all the players who left the game start returning to it, waiting in a specific place assigned to them. But this time, Detective Hwang is watching the car that picked up Seong. The pickpocket girl didn't fall asleep in the car from the gas because she managed to avoid inhaling it. Hwang keeps following them until he sees them entering a port, and he hides under one of the cars until it is loaded onto a ship. He sneaks in among the sleeping people and waits for one of the game staff to approach him. He manages to kill him, put on his uniform, and join the rest of the game staff. Kang is awake and manages to keep her knife without it being taken from her. All the players in their hall wake up again, wearing the same clothes and numbers, and there are 187 players who have returned to play again for a prize worth 26.9 billion won. Seong meets his friends Sang-woo and Ali, who saved him from death. and tells them that they could form a team together to get through the games as a group, and the old man joins them as well. At the same time, the thug also gathers a team so they can play together. Lunch is distributed to them, and then it's time to sleep. But player number 212 keeps screaming that she wants to go to the bathroom, so they allow her to go, and Kang goes with her. Kang tries to open the ventilation duct with the knife she has and climbs inside to explore the place. She agrees with the other girl that she'll cover for her until she comes back, and she promises to tell her everything she saw. She moves around freely and sees them melting sugar in the kitchen, then quickly returns to the bathroom before she gets caught, and they both go back to their beds. Sang-woo overhears them talking. The next day comes, and Hwang is sleeping in the room designated for people who have killed and stolen like him. He gets up and joins the rest of the team for the game, and the players are given their portions. But Sang refuses to take milk because it upsets his stomach. He tells the old man that he must have been beaten a lot by his father when he was young, because he himself used to hit his son for hating milk too. They keep sitting and eating until it's announced that the second game will start soon. One of the players, number 111, finds a scattered note in his food about the type of the next game. Sang follows Kang and tells her that he heard she saw something yesterday and wants to know what she saw in exchange for possibly helping her with his intelligence. She tells him about the melted sugar. They all move to the game hall, where there are 4 gates in front of them, each with a different shape on it. The players are asked to choose one of the 4 shapes and stand in front of it. Sang is able to guess that these shapes resemble the ones that used to be drawn on the candies made from melted sugar when he was a child. But he hides from the rest of the team that he has almost figured out the game. He tells them that it's better for each person to choose a different gate, because if they all pick the same one and it turns out to be difficult, they could all die. They believe Seong, and each of them chooses a different gate to stand in front of. Kang Sae-byuk waits until Seong chooses a gate, then follows him to the same one. The gates open in front of them. Boxes are handed out to them, and inside each box they find a honeycomb candy with the same shape as the one that was on the gate and on the outside. The game is that each player has to break the honeycomb candy along the outline of the shape in front of them using a needle. If the shape breaks, the player loses, and Seong ends up with the hardest shape, which is the umbrella. The first person to break their shape is killed immediately. The team starts killing the players who break their shapes, and they let the winning players leave the area. Seong keeps trying to carve out his shape, and he's so nervous that his sweat drips onto the sugar, and he notices it starts to melt easily. He realizes that he might be able to separate the shape using his tongue. He keeps using his saliva to make the shape more fragile. He manages to successfully separate the umbrella. The thug also manages to successfully separate his shape, after player number 212 helped him by throwing him the lighter she had hidden with her, so he could heat the needle and separate the shape more easily. Time runs out, and everyone who failed to separate their shape is killed. Seong succeeds at the last moment, but one of the remaining players, before being killed, manages to hit a guard, take his weapon, and threatens to kill him. He orders him to take off his mask, and it turns out he's just a young man. The player can't bring himself to kill him, so the young man commits suicide. But then the leader appears and kills the young man who was part of his own team. He informs the rest that if anyone's identity is revealed, they will be killed immediately. The remaining players who won head back to their sleeping quarters again. They see the piggy bank filling up with money from the 79 players who died in the previous game. The prize amount increases to 34,800,000,000 won. When it's time for lunch, it becomes clear that there's some kind of relationship between the thug and player number 212, the one who gave him the lighter. When the food is served, it's very little. So he decides that they should take more than their share of food and takes other people's portions. Some people end up without any food. Player number 271 goes to confront the thug, but the thug keeps beating him until he dies in his hands. Seong gets angry about what's happening and keeps talking to the team, telling them that they should be playing, not killing each other. All that happens is that the number of players on the screen decreases and the prize increases by 100 million won. At the same time, Officer Hwang manages to take the mask of a high-ranking officer, who is the one giving the orders. It becomes clear that there is an organ trafficking operation happening secretly inside the facility without anyone knowing. The whole thing is an arrangement between a player who works as a doctor, number 111, and 2 members of the game staff. After what the thug does, Seong and his team are afraid to sleep, worried they might be killed in their beds, so they decide to stay awake all day. Everyone is surprised this time because of the small amount of food. The doctor, number 111, finds out the reason for the shortage of food from those helping him in the game. It's that the leader is intentionally giving them less food. At that point, a fight breaks out among them, and the weak are eliminated before the next game even begins. And indeed, as soon as it's time to sleep and the lights are turned off, the first person the thug kills is the woman who said he took more than his share of food, and he kills her with the neck of the bottle he was drinking from. Chaos spreads throughout the place, and everyone starts killing each other until the old man stands up and begs the leader to stop what's happening, or else everyone will die. The leader then orders the team to intervene, stop the killing, and check the number of casualties. Then, Officer Huang, disguised as one of the masked men, comes in and asks Xiong if he knows someone named Inho, who is actually his brother. He wants to make sure he's alive, but Xiong tells him that they don't know each other's names. After things calm down, Xiong tells them that at the very least, they should know each other's names since they're on the same team. Each person says their full name, and when it's the old man's turn, he looks shocked and can't say his name, so they don't pressure him. Xiong tells him that it's not important to remember his name right now. It turns out that there are fewer than 107 players left. Only 80 remain. After the whole place is cleaned up, it's time for the game team's bedtime. Xiong's team stays strong, and the old man is the one who stands guard for them, telling them that he won't be able to help them with anything else. The least he can do for them is to give up his sleep to keep watch. They all wake up to the start of the third game and are ordered to head to the game hall. It is announced that the game will be played in teams, with each group consisting of 10 people. Sejong's team starts increasing their numbers, choosing strong men who might help them win. The thug starts to betray his girlfriend and leaves her out, forming his team without her. He tells her that he'll include her in the next game if she's still alive, and he hits her to make her leave. She promises him that she'll kill him, then leaves to look for a team that only has 9 members. She barely manages to join Seong's team. All the players are divided into 8 groups, each with 10 people. The game turns out to be tug of war, but played on a high platform. Seong gets discouraged, realizing they're likely to lose because their team is weak. The team that will play is chosen by drawing lots, and the Thugs team ends up facing a weak team. The Thugs team wins easily, and the entire opposing team dies because they fall from a very high platform. Then comes the second round, and it's Seong's team's turn. They end up facing a team full of strong men, and everyone on Seong's team feels discouraged except for the old man, who encourages them and tells them that tug of war isn't just about strength. He tells them that if they play using the method he's about to teach them, they'll win. They trust his words because they have no other choice. He tells them that the leader must be strong. He shouldn't show any weakness to the opponent. He teaches them to stand in a specific way so they can use all their strength. And for the first 10 seconds, they should only defend and not pull. Then, the moment the opponent falters or makes a mistake, that's when they should start pulling. Seong's team is about to finally win, until the other team regains their strength and starts pulling them toward their side. But Seong tells them his idea. At his signal, they should take 3 steps forward toward the opposing team, as if they're about to throw themselves off. And indeed, they listen to Seong and quickly take 3 steps forward. In the next video, we'll continue and tell you what happened in the summary of the second part. Don't forget to subscribe to the MoviesNectar channel and activate the bell to receive any new notifications, and like this video. Goodbye.